Tonight on CTV News at 6, the Oilers try to drag the Panthers back to Edmonton. Backs against the wall. Must win Game 6 in Florida.
We still haven't seen our best, and obviously tonight would be a great time to show it.
Possible asbestos exposure for some students and staff at a West End high school.
So when you demolish that wall, all that dust is becoming airborne, and you're breathing that in.
And
see these AI videos like super real.
A new form of cyberbullying. Police warn kids about the dangers of AI-generated images.
I actually just almost had a scam not too long ago, and it was someone trying to be a friend.
It's been a beautiful afternoon, but we do have some showers and thunderstorms in the forecast for tonight and tomorrow, and some steadier rain on Thursday.
CTV Edmonton, local breaking news with Jeff Hastings.
Good evening. The Edmonton Oilers are skating to save their season tonight in Florida. Win, and the Panthers will be forced to fly to Edmonton for a Friday Game 7. Lose, and the Oilers will once again watch their opponent crowned Stanley Cup champion. As they have for 2 months now, tens of thousands of fans have gathered in Ice District for the biggest watch parties in the city. CTV's Evan Kenny is also there right now. Evan, the Panthers are up 3-2 in that best of 7. What are Oilers players saying they need to do tonight?
Jeff, the team is saying that they need to start better off tonight. Edmonton has allowed at least 2 goals in the first period of every game so far in this series. And as along with a better start, the team says they need to play better, period. According to NHL stats, Edmonton has led for just over 30 minutes in the series compared to more than 200 minutes for the Panthers. That starts with Stuart Skinner, who is back between the pipes tonight. He's 7-6 in these playoffs with a 2.99 goals against average and an 891 save percentage. His last appearance was in Game 4 when Florida scored 3 goals in the first period. Now, Skinner says it took a couple days to shake that performance off, but now he says he has 100% of the team's confidence behind him, and he's ready for the challenge.
It's just back to work, you know. There's not much time in this league, especially in the finals, to soak on it and feel bad for yourself. So you just got to go back on the ice the next day and start working on your game again.
Forward Kasperi Kapanen and defenseman John Klingberg are returning to the lineup, replacing Troy Stetcher and Victor Arvidsson. Now, 8 teams in NHL history have won Game 6 and gone on to win Game 7 and hoist Lord Stanley. The Oilers are hoping to be number 9. Jeff?
All right, Evan, thank you. That is Evan Kenny live in Ice District tonight. A crash involving at least 2 vehicles on White Mud Drive near 111th Street is causing major traffic delays. Police say eastbound traffic is being rerouted at 122nd Street. At the scene, a semi is up a hill on the side of the road. There's a heavily damaged white van behind it, and between the 2 vehicles, what looked like a covered body lay on the grass. CPS Major Collisions was on scene. Police have not released any other details. Students and staff at a high school in Edmonton may have been exposed to asbestos. Jasper Place High School sent a letter to parents yesterday warning some students may have been exposed to the hazardous material. The letter says in mid-March, a wall was taken down in the boys' football locker room by someone who is not a staff member at the school. The school board says demolition was never authorized and no protective measures were taken. The board says the building materials tested positive for low levels of asbestos. A local company that deals with asbestos says the real concern isn't asbestos levels, it's how much becomes airborne.
In this scenario where a wall was demolished, the asbestos is in the joint compound. So when you demolish that wall, all that dust is becoming airborne and you're breathing that in. If they're inhaled into your lungs, those fibers, if you look at them under a microscope, they almost have little barbs on them. And once they attach into your lung tissue, they're almost never going to leave.
Mo Barzagar says asbestos affects everyone differently and it could damage your lungs for life. The school letter says students and staff who helped clean up after the wall was knocked down may have been exposed and have been notified. The board says the area has since been properly cleaned and the school's air quality tested safe. The school says it's still investigating who's responsible for knocking down the wall. As AI technology evolves, police are warning kids and teens about new methods of exploitation. And as CTV's Connor Hogg reports, it's young people who are victimizing each other.
TikTok and stuff like that. You can see these AI videos like super real.
Students say AI plays a big part in their everyday lives. It can be used as a study tool. It can also be used to create difficult-to-discern deepfakes.
Everyone's like images going around. Like you can get someone's like image like super like fast off the internet.
I actually just almost had a scam not too long ago, and it was someone trying to be a friend.
I just think that a lot of like the negative things aren't really being highlighted as much for sure.
Police say the technology can be used to benefit and to harm. According to Alert's Internet Child Exploitation Unit, AI is already being used to exploit young people, in most cases, by their peers.
What we're finding is that AI is being used to create nude images of other children and used as kind of this new form of cyberbullying.
Constable Stephanie Bosch says it can happen on any app, and the embarrassment AI images can cause is significant. Shame prevents victims from coming forward.
Children more often fear their social death than their actual physical death. Kids may not have taken a nude image of themselves, but what's happening is it's being created, right? And it's being used to bully or harass or extort.
Students say they're wary about what they post and try to limit who can see it.
Personally, me, I just like make my account private. Don't post too much pictures like publicly online.
Like keeping the things you share online to a minimum amount of people.
Bosch says parents need to be open to having difficult conversations with their kids.
Kids are exploring their sexuality online. There's nothing inherently bad with that. It just comes with its own set of risks that we have to discuss.
While the majority of ICE's work happens behind the scenes, in this case, Bosch says the public can have a direct impact.
If we're discounting their lives online, we're creating those barriers, inadvertently even, and it makes it hard for them to talk about it.
Prevention through conversation. Connor Hogg, CTV News, Edmonton.
Advance voting opened today for 3 Alberta by-elections, 2 of those here in Edmonton. Nearly a year ago, Naheed Nenshi was chosen to lead the NDP. He finally has a chance of becoming a sitting MLA in Edmonton Strathcona. The Edmonton Ellerslie riding is expected to be a tighter race. Nicole Weisberg has more.
Voters trickle into a polling station in southeast Edmonton. Staff here say about 10 people came through in the first couple hours of opening.
Why do you think it's important to come out to vote?
Time to get stuff done.
Because the next generation is coming, and they need our vote now so that we can go and make sure that they have a future.
In Edmonton Strathcona, NDP leader Naheed Nenshi is expected to cruise to victory. The riding has a long history of voting orange.
So I fully expect Naheed Nenshi to win in Edmonton Strathcona. What will be very interesting there, Nicole, is by how much he wins by. Because the Conservative candidate in Edmonton Strathcona is running a very strong, spirited campaign.
For political watcher John Brennan, Edmonton Ellerslie is much harder to call. Rod Loyola was an NDP MLA here for a decade. He stepped down to run federally and lost. Now a former progressive Conservative MLA is back running for the UCP, and a media personality in the South Asian community is running for the NDP.
The reason I think it's going to be a lot closer is we've had several polls out just in the last 3 or 4 weeks measuring public opinion in Alberta and in Edmonton. The UCP continues to poll well province-wide.
People are getting to be big fans of Danielle Smith.
Thanks in part to the Premier's popularity and his own public profile, Naresh Bhardwaj says he's confident in his campaign.
When you're at the doors, there's a mood for change.
Gurtej Brar also says he's confident, promising to bring back NDP policies to make life more affordable.
When it comes to utility bills, when it comes to insurance, we capped that. So people recognizing that thing, and we proved it, and we will do it again.
Advance polls run until Saturday. The by-election is Monday. Nicole Weisberg, CTV News, Edmonton.
Current Edmonton City Councillor Karen Tang will be seeking re-election in October. Tang has been the councillor for Ward Gargio since 2021. Tang plans to officially launch her campaign this Sunday at 2 o'clock in the Leafield Community League. There has been a spike in multi-unit housing of all kinds since Edmonton's new zoning bylaw kicked in last year. Now, this council is assessing the impact and debating what needs to change. Jeremy Thompson reports one proposal to reduce density comes from an unexpected councillor.
There are 8 homes in this new building in Park Allen, 4 up and 4 down. It's the type of infill allowed on almost any residential lot in Edmonton under the new zoning bylaw.
These large buildings mid-block are not compatible.
Jan Hardstaff is part of a working group advocating for less disruptive infill since 2019. She says large buildings like this one decimate the urban tree canopy and create privacy and parking concerns, among others.
There's just multiple negative impacts, and suddenly people are seeing these, and they can't do anything about it.
City data shows a spike in approved row housing permits after the zoning bylaw changed. This map shows the vast majority are being built in central neighborhoods as council intended. But Councillor Michael Jans is proposing a change to reduce the units allowed by default from 8 to 6 for mid-block infill.
I think these are very sensible and modest adjustments.
Jans is a staunch advocate for building Edmonton up rather than out, but he says 8-unit buildings don't make sense everywhere.
We have infill goals, we have construction goals, we have many goals, but we also have some other community goals.
It is curious how an election period will change the perspectives of some.
Opponents argue developers will build the same size structure no matter how many units are inside.
I think that generally all this change will do is reduce the number of housing units available in sort of the downtown core.
I think we are moving at the right pace. There's just a perception sometimes in people's mind, and they look at it and say, oh my God, what is going on here? I think we just need to respond to those real and perceived concerns.
Council will debate the switch from 8 units to 6, along with many other proposed changes, at a public hearing on zoning June 30th. Jeremy Thompson, CTV News, Edmonton.
A Canadian rock tour is coming to Rogers Place. The Tea Party is among the bands on the roster. They'll be joined by the Headstones and Finger 11. It's the first time these bands have come together for a concert. The show in Edmonton is November 28th. Tickets go on sale this Friday. All right, first check on weather, Josh. A pretty nice day, but some things to keep an eye on.
Yeah, severe thunderstorm watch in effect for the city of Edmonton and areas to the south. This is mainly going to affect areas south of the city, but there is the chance here at Edmonton that we might see a severe storm blow through before the evening is done. The areas in red are currently under warnings where, again, in the yellow zone, potential for severe weather. In the red zone, you have severe thunderstorms. You can see there's a couple storms there around Three Hills, just off to the northwest of Drumheller. You've got a pretty strong storm. And then from Drayton Valley southeast towards Ponoka, lots of lightning coming off of this thing. There was a stationary storm system that was just southwest of Pigeon Lake that has kind of contributed to this as the main line of thunderstorms has moved in from the foothills off to the west-southwest. Yeah, most of that's going to pass south of the city. We'll see what happens at the northern edge of that little storm system there up around Seba Beach. Nothing imminent for the city, but we'll keep an eye on this. I think mid-evening there might be a little bit of activity in the area. As far as right now, in those pink zones, which are kind of shrinking a little bit, but just south of Ponoka and just south of Pigeon Lake as well, you're likely seeing some sizable hail coming off of those storms. Here's what it looks like in Edmonton. You can see the cloud shield has kind of snuck into the Edmonton region right now. No rain in the area, and so not bad for at least the next couple of hours for anybody that's down at Rogers Place for the watch party tonight, whether you're in the moss pit or maybe just outside on your back deck having a barbecue and waiting to take in the game. 23 degrees right now after a high of 24 earlier today. We'll get to about 22 for a high tomorrow. And again tomorrow, much like today, chance of some scattered showers and thunderstorms, especially late in the day. All those details in a couple minutes.
Thank you, Josh. Still ahead, the G7 summit continues with a notable absence and an honorary guest.
Our families had a very difficult night. It's one of the biggest attacks from the very beginning of this war.
What Supports Canada has pledged for Ukraine's defense. Plus,
we need to shift this work into overdrive.
The province promising a prize worth tens of millions of dollars to any company that can solve a tricky environmental issue.
Programming brought to you by Century Casino. 3 great locations: Edmonton, St. Albert, and Century Mile.
The G7 Leaders Summit continued in Kananaskis today without U.S. President Donald Trump. Today's talks focused on defense and security, especially in Ukraine. CTV's Michael Couture has the latest.
With a heavy heart, Ukraine's president came to Kananaskis, hoping for more support from G7 leaders. But the latest attack cast a shadow over his visit.
Our families had a very difficult night. It's one of the biggest attacks from the very beginning of this war. 440 Shaheeds, Iranian drones, and 32 missiles.
Inviting Volodymyr Zelensky was part of a show of support from world leaders gathered here as the war with Russia rages on. And Canada has gone one step further, announcing today military aid and sanctions.
We are providing additional military assistance, drones, helicopters, broader munitions, over $2 billion worth of assistance directly to Ukraine.
And there's a $2.3 billion loan to help Ukraine rebuild its infrastructure. Canada is also slapping sanctions on 40 Russian entities, a number of individuals, and over 200 vessels in its shadow fleet. The United Kingdom also announced similar sanctions on 20 ships, including oil tankers. But the immediate need in Ukraine is that military might.
It's important for our soldiers to be strong at the battlefield, to stay strong until Russia will be ready for the peace negotiations.
The Prime Minister's office confirms the $2 billion in military aid is helping Canada to reach its NATO spending target. And that earned Carney praise from the head of the alliance.
The fact that you decided to bring Canada to the 2% spending when it comes to NATO this year is really fantastic.
More difficult conversations could come for Carney when he meets with his Indian counterpart later today. Canada is trying to rebuild that relationship, while an RCMP investigation has connected the Modi government to homicides and extortions in this country. It's a claim the Indian government has refuted. Michael Couture, CTV News, Kananaskis, Alberta.
Leaders of the G7 have agreed to cooperate on their efforts to manage the impacts of devastating wildfires. The Kananaskis Wildfire Charter outlines steps that all G7 countries and 5 non-G7 members intend to take on wildfire prevention, research collaboration, and community rebuilding efforts. During last year's summit, leaders agreed to prevent and manage the negative impacts of wildfires, but did not outline specific plans. The declaration comes as Canada battles yet another devastating wildfire season. Alberta Wildfire says there are 57 wildfires burning in Alberta. 22 are out of control. From the early exit of one leader to the expanded security zones, there are a number of reasons this G7 looks different than others. The biggest change might be the lack of protests. CTV's Tim Brooke has more on the quiet summit that may have more police than protesters.
6 for Justice were back in front of City Hall Tuesday, protesting the G7 invite given to the Indian Prime Minister. But despite cameras watching their every move and broadcasting it to Kananaskis, the protest was subdued, just like Monday. And the other 2 demonstration zones were completely empty.
Fairly light on protests. I think yesterday we had about 80 to 85 people at the designated demonstration zone, and today it's even lighter.
One humanities professor chalks some of that up to a massive police presence.
Because we've seen these kind of violent clampdowns and this security regime, it's become less viable, I think, for people to engage.
Calgary Police, Mounties, Alberta Sheriffs, and police teams from Edmonton, Winnipeg, and Vancouver are all on site. Add in the fact these designated zones are far away from any leaders, and you can see why groups like Greenpeace and Oxfam would skip this G7.
I think a lot of activists have realized that these aren't the best ways to spend their energy.
It's all so different from recent summits in Italy and Germany. But those events may be why this one looks like it does.
Well, we always plan for essentially the worst, right? So you plan for contingencies because it's unpredictable. You really don't know what the numbers are going to be.
Either way, those protesters who came are still holding out hope their voices are being heard.
We are trying our best. So I hope that world leader read the news. They know what's going on, why we are protesting.
Tim Brooke, CTV News, Calgary.
Tailings ponds have been a byproduct of the oil sands since drilling began in our province. Now the province wants the industry to find solutions by launching a challenge with $50 million in funding as the prize. At the same time, a new survey says most Canadians want to see renewable energy to expand. CTV's Stephanie Thomas has more.
It's called the Tailings Technology Challenge. $50 million from an industry-backed fund will go to the winning company that can create a solution for tailings ponds.
We need to shift this work into overdrive. We need more advanced technologies to help reduce, treat, and manage mine water.
Tailings ponds in the oil sands are a mix of chemicals, bitumen, water, and sand. They are environmentally hazardous, yet extremely challenging to clean up. Several companies have been charged for killing ducks and birds that found their way into the toxic wastewater. There are some 1.4 billion cubic meters of tailings ponds in the province. That's about 500,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools.
We're in that stage of accumulating a lot of tailings and fluids that will, in due course, be reclaimed, and some of the very original ponds have now been reclaimed.
However, one local environmental geology expert disputes that efforts to clean up tailings ponds have ever worked.
We haven't figured out how to get the water out of the fine sands yet so that they can be restored, and so basically, no tailings pond has been restored that I'm aware of in Alberta.
At the same time, new data suggests more Canadians would prefer to see more progress on renewable energy. 67% of Canadians say they favor renewable energy. 1/3 of respondents favored conventional. Alberta's breakdown is flipped, with just 46% preferring renewable energy and 54% preferring fossil fuels. Abacus Data conducted the survey for Clean Energy Canada.
What read between the lines there is just a real appetite to see real movement and real action.
Industry leaders agree that technologies like deep well injection are broadly used, but extremely slow.
Maybe there's technologies being applied in other industries elsewhere in the world that we're not even aware of, things that we can bring to bear here to speed up that process.
He adds the solution needs to be scaled up to match the size of the issue. Companies have until September 24th to enter the contest. Stephanie Thomas, CTV News, Calgary.
Stay with us. Up next, paying homage to an iconic Oilers fan.
I thought I was nuts to do it, but it's fun.
And seniors taking inspiration from a well-known Oilers supporter.
Mid-20s today, and it looks like we'll be into the 20s for one more day tomorrow. Then it cools off Thursday and into the weekend. Take a closer look at that. An update on the severe thunderstorm watch as well, right after the break.
Programming brought to you by James H. Brown Injury Lawyers, the heavy hitters of injury law.
And there's a live look at Ice District, where Oilers fans are hoping for a performance that will drag the Panthers back to Edmonton as the Oilers face a do-or-die situation in Florida in the Stanley Cup final. For a group of Oilers fans in St. Albert, getting to Ice District to watch their team with Mama Stanley isn't an option. That's why the seniors created their own version. CTV's Amanda Anderson reports.
Papa Stan, are we ready?
Ed Wilkins has taken his love of the Oilers to a new level, agreeing to let staff at the St. Albert retirement residence dress him up in a sparkly top and skirt.
With his outfit, he's got me laughing anyway.
Next, it's time for a little silver paint as his fellow Oilers fans look on.
You're getting all of this, eh? Yeah. I'll give autographed copies later.
A hat then completes his transformation into their very own Papa Stanley.
First of all, I thought they were kidding me, and secondly, I thought I was nuts to do it, but it's fun.
The seniors were inspired to create their own human Stanley Cup after a visit last year from the original.
You know how she goes to all the games. She was actually here last year, and we thought, like, if there's a Mama Stanley, there has to be like a Grandpa Stanley.
The group is well known for their Oilers game day videos, often dressing up and belting out their best chants,
Fight, score, win,
or songs.
They look forward to them every single game day. When I get here in the morning at like 7:30, they're usually waiting for me in the dining room, and if it's a game day, they're like, go Oilers, go, what are we doing today?
Sometimes in your real life, before you got older, you didn't get to do the fun things. You were trying to be responsible, so it's great.
On this day, they hope Papa Stanley will bring their team a bit of luck.
I certainly hope it does.
It's helped my notoriety.
If there's any part of the game that's not going very well, seeing that outfit will make everybody happy.
As much fun as they're having with their own cup, they really would prefer the Oilers bring home the real thing.
We want the cup!
Amanda Anderson, CTV News, St. Albert.
All right, Josh, are you still keeping an eye on that severe thunderstorm watch? Nothing imminent?
No, not for the city. Most of this is going to pass off to the south of us. Take a look outside right now with the Action Furnace River Valley Sky Cam. Action Furnace, fixed right or it's free. It's 23 degrees under mostly cloudy skies right now. We'll get to 24 for a daytime high today. 24 as well in Grand Prairie. Jasper into the mid-20s. Same in Lloydminster, 23 in Fort McMurray. We did have, again, some scattered showers and thunderstorms across northeastern Alberta. All of that is non-severe thunderstorm activity, and you can see it's already starting to fizzle out. It's further south. Then we've got some severe thunderstorms here rolling towards Drumheller, and then there off to the south and southwest of the Edmonton area. So areas in yellow, which includes the city of Edmonton, under a severe thunderstorm watch. Again, possibility for severe thunderstorms. In the red zones, that's where you have severe thunderstorms right now. We were keeping a close eye on this one. It did look like it was starting to rotate a little bit, but it's kind of falling apart now. Here, this is also a broken line now of thunderstorms that was pretty consistent in producing some heavy downpours and some hail. Looks like that cell right there is possibly still producing some hail in and around Ponoka. Now, most of that's sliding off to the east-southeast as opposed to moving northeast towards the Edmonton area. So we'll see what develops at the northern edge of that. But there is a chance that all of this slides past the south end of the city. That said, possibility is there mid-evening, 8, 9 p.m. for a shower or thunderstorm, at least in the area. So we'll keep an eye on that for the next little while. Overnight tonight, could see a scattered shower or maybe even some overnight thunderstorms once again. Had a little bit of that last night in through central Alberta. And then tomorrow morning is mostly cloudy skies in and around Edmonton. There might be a few hit and miss showers. Really nothing all that organized. Best chance for tomorrow, much like today, is going to be late in the day, late afternoon, early evening. Chance of some showers and thunderstorms. All of that will develop tomorrow afternoon in through the foothills and then slide off to the east-northeast as the day goes on. 22 in Fort McMurray right now. It's 24 in Grand Prairie and Jasper, 23 in Edmonton. 21 degrees currently in Red Deer. In the next 24 hours has temperatures dropping to about 13 degrees. Anywhere between about 8 and 9 p.m., you do have a chance of an isolated shower or thunderstorm in the area. All those we said and showed you. Looks like most, possibly all of that, slides south of the city. Tomorrow morning, it's about a 30% chance of a scattered shower. I think for most of tomorrow, we're just looking at a mix of sun and cloud. Slightly cooler than today, 22 for a daytime high, with the risk of some thunderstorms again late in the day. Steadier rain for Thursday with a high of 16. Summer starts on Friday with a high of 20. Doesn't look like we'll see anything too heavy for precipitation this weekend in the Edmonton area. Southern Alberta is probably going to see a real soaker of a weekend, but here in the city, just a slight chance of scattered showers. Saturday, highs below average, 17 or 18, but rebounding back into the low to mid-20s by the early to middle part of next week.
Thanks, Josh. Still ahead, escalating crisis.
So there's definitely a lot more of a worry, and there's a lot more of a feeling of urgency.
Canadians in the Middle East concerned about fighting between Israel and Iran.
Programming brought to you by James H. Brown Injury Lawyers, the heavy hitters of injury law.
Returning to one of our top stories, police say a woman was struck and killed by a semi on the White Mud this afternoon. Police say this afternoon a female driver exited her van after parking on the shoulder of the White Mud Drive on 111th Street. An eastbound semi truck hit her. Police say she was declared dead at the scene. Police say there was a young child inside the van who was not hurt. He was taken to the Stollery. The EPS Major Collisions section is investigating. Canada and India have agreed to designate new high commissioners and restore regular diplomatic services to citizens in both countries. Prime Minister Mark Carney and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi made the agreement while meeting on the sidelines of the G7 summit in Kananaskis. Canada expelled 6 Indian diplomats and consular officials last October after the RCMP linked the Indian government to crimes against Canadian citizens. India expelled the Canadian High Commissioner and 5 other Canadian diplomats in response. months. Carney issued a late invitation to the summit to Modi despite pushback from many Sikh groups across Canada and Liberal MPs. There are no signs of de-escalation in the Middle East on day 5 of the fighting between Israel and Iran. Iran sending another wave of missiles at Tel Aviv in the north while Israel hits deeper into Iran. CTV's Adrian Gobriel has more on the Canadians caught in the middle of the crisis.
This missile launch from an unknown location inside Iran claims to show an Islamic Revolutionary Guard warhead slicing through the sky towards Israel. At an Israeli air base, an F-15 Eagle fighter jet takes off, strapped with munitions, destined for targets in Iran. This young child in a bicycle helmet is among those surveying this gaping crater in central Israel north of Tel Aviv from an airstrike Tuesday morning. Canadian-Israeli Raphael Posh is a paramedic who's worked in multiple conflict zones. The father of 2 from Toronto says Iran's counterattack feels far more threatening than what he and his family have grown accustomed to in recent years.
If one of those missiles hit, it takes down a city block, as opposed to one of the missiles from Hamas would hit. It takes out an apartment, a room, a hole in a building, depending on the size of the rocket. So there's definitely a lot more of a worry, and there's a lot more of a feeling of urgency.
Hamilton, Ontario doctor Panad Baranju took this video following an Israeli airstrike on a building down the street from his family's apartment in Tehran.
It's terrifying, and I was only probably 700 meters away from the blast side.
Baranju is one of the fortunate few to have been allowed to cross into Turkey at a land border. Forced to leave his extended family behind, he took this video of his last moments in Iran as the flash of rockets could still be seen in the sky.
And then I had to sort of leave and say goodbye to them in Tehran, which was very emotional. Especially my mom, because she hugged me and said, "This is the last time I see you." It's possible, but as sad as it is for me to say.
As of today, at least 224 people have been killed in Iran, 24 in Israel, since the fighting began 5 days ago. On his own social media site, President Donald Trump posting that the U.S. knows exactly where Iran's supreme leader is located, calling him an easy target, though vowing not to kill him, saying, quote, "At least not yet." Adrian Gobriel, CTV News, Toronto.
U.S. President Donald Trump is upping the price for Canada to be a part of his Golden Dome defense system.
We're going to have to pay a lot of tariffs and things. They're going to have to pay a lot of money for the dome, for the Iron Dome. They want to be a part of it.
He now says Canada will have to pay $71 billion U.S. to be included in the missile defense system. That's up $10 billion from the original offer. The Prime Minister said last month Canada is considering participating in the project. An Alberta politician has officially resigned as a member of Parliament to allow Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre to run in a by-election. Damien Kurek promised just after the federal election he would vacate his seat in the riding of Battle River Crowfoot. With his resignation today, the first possible date for the by-election would be sometime in early August. Poilievre represented the Ottawa seat of Carleton for 20 years. He lost it in the federal election in April. Ontario's premier is criticizing a new documentary on his late brother, Toronto's controversial former mayor, Rob Ford.
Poor Rob's been dead for 9 years, and they just want to keep going after him. I talked to one person that saw it. It's just disgusting. Leave the guy alone. Let him rest in peace.
The Netflix film follows Rob Ford's rise to power and the scandals around his drug use that marked his tenure. Ford died of cancer in 2016. A California doctor facing charges related to Matthew Perry's death has agreed to plead guilty. Federal prosecutors say Dr. Salvador Plasencia will plead guilty to 4 counts of distribution of ketamine. He's accused of giving Perry access to the drug in the weeks before the actor's death. Perry was found unresponsive in his jacuzzi in 2023. An autopsy revealed he died from the acute effects of ketamine. Coming up, making a career change.
It's a high-performing program, and the people that we're helping, it's life-changing.
On the provinces supporting former military members and first responders overcome barriers. Also next, the world's most popular museum shut down by staff, part of pushback against mass tourism across the pond. And there is a live look from the CTV drone at Ice District in Edmonton. Tens of thousands of fans watching the Oilers on the ice thousands of kilometers away in Florida. The Panthers are up 1-0. Stay with us. Checking on the markets, the Canadian dollar was down slightly, trading for 73 cents U.S. Oil gained more than $3 on the day, closing at $73.27 U.S. a barrel. Natural gas was up 10 cents. Gold was down more than $10. The TSX closed down 27 points. The Dow Jones down 299. The Alberta government is promising to help former military members and first responders find meaningful civilian careers. The province is spending $1.2 million on the Forces at Work program. The program specializes in helping people in public safety overcome physical, psychological, and emotional barriers to transition to a second career. Social Services Minister Jason Nixon says it has successfully helped 1,300 people find new careers since 2011. The money is expected to support another 1,000.
If we don't invest in that area, the reality is that we will continue to see income supports have to go up. Individuals then living on income supports that can't afford to be able to meet their day-to-day needs. Taxpayers having to continue to pay into that area to care for people.
Prospect Human Services runs the program. It says it has a 70% success rate of getting people into employment. Genetic testing firm 23andMe has been fined millions after a global data breach in 2023.
The breach serves as a cautionary tale for all organizations about the importance of data protection in an era of growing cyber threats.
A joint investigation by Canada and the UK showed 23andMe failed to take basic steps to protect customer data. As a result, the UK is imposing a $4 million fine on the company. Canada does not have the power to impose a similar penalty under current privacy laws. The data breach affected almost 7 million people, including nearly 320,000 in Canada. The compromised data included information related to health, race, ethnicity, as well as relatives, date of birth, and gender. 23andMe filed for bankruptcy in March. Heading into the summer travel season, some of the world's most popular destinations are feeling less than friendly toward tourists. A staff walkout yesterday shut down the Louvre in Paris as workers say they want to raise awareness about a growing problem. ABC's Lionel Moise has more.
A protest in Paris brought the world's most popular museum to a standstill. Thousands of confused tourists left waiting for hours yesterday after staff at the Louvre refused to open the doors. The exhausted employees rebelling against mass tourism and crippling crowds. The beloved museum, home to masterpieces such as the Mona Lisa and Venus de Milo, now sees nearly 9 million visitors each year, about 25,000 per day on average. But the main entrance, Ayampei's famed pyramid, was built to handle less than half that, only about 10,000 people per day. The constant crush of visitors taking its toll on the gallery. An internal memo warning the museum is wearing out, with water leaks and temperature fluctuations putting some of that priceless art at risk. President Macron recently announcing plans to renovate and build a separate entrance for visitors coming to see the Mona Lisa. But workers want changes sooner. It's not just the Louvre suffering from over-tourism. From Italy to Portugal to Spain, locals are protesting overcrowding and the rising cost of living in destination cities. In Barcelona, protesters spraying tourists with water guns in hopes of cooling down tourism. A timeline on the Louvre renovations remains uncertain. Lionel Moise, ABC News, New York.
World leaders in our province for the G7 summit no doubt have a packed schedule. Still, some are taking some time to play tourist in Kananaskis. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer stopped to take a few photos of the Rockies on his phone like thousands of other tourists. Starmer posted a photo on social media shortly after arriving on Sunday saying, "Not a bad spot." Coming up, Alberta University students sending a side project to the final frontier.
It's actually creating something that gets you out of space.
We've got another great night of entertainment coming up right here on CTV, starting at 7 with E-Talk.
About 100 Alberta University students have been using their spare time on an impressive project. If all goes as planned, they say the student-built satellite will be launched into space this year. Alicia Fieldberg reports.
It's an extracurricular project that goes above and beyond. University of Calgary students are using their free time to create a satellite to launch into the upper atmosphere.
It's such a neat experience to get to work on a hands-on team like this that's actually creating something that gets you out of space.
The Calgary to Space team started in 2020 and is doing final testing before the satellite is scheduled to board a SpaceX rocket this year.
Preparing it to do vibration testing, where we want to see that it can withstand the conditions of being in a rocket as it launches to space.
It's roughly the size of a loaf of bread and will orbit about 500 kilometers above Earth, taking images, collecting data, and testing an adjustable arm. It could provide insight about a phenomenon discovered by Alberta skywatchers. The strong thermal emission velocity enhancement, also known as STEVE, creates purple and green light in the night sky, similar to aurora borealis.
We have some instrumentation on FrontierSat to study the plasma in Earth's space environment to measure how it moves. So in a way, it's kind of like a high-tech windsock.
He's planning to study data from the student's satellite.
Very exciting to see our satellite be a part of like a research paper, and to see it's going to be actually published to the public and shared to the other researcher.
Building a device for space is only part of the challenge. The students also had to raise about $200,000 and navigate federal and international regulations.
Space is so expensive that generally a lot of people are cut out of it completely. But as more and more student teams kind of stand up and we commercialize space a little bit more, projects like CubeSats become a lot more feasible, which means that students like us get lucky opportunities to send something to space.
Some of the students are hoping to see their creation take off in person. Alicia Fieldberg, CTV News, Calgary.
The satellite is scheduled to launch this fall from somewhere in the U.S., with final details still being determined by SpaceX. Oilers fans come from all over, like from Helen E. Taylor School in Wembley, Alberta. These students learned La Bamba on instruments like xylophones and shakers. They were helped out by some of the teachers for this performance. The school has about 175 students from grades 4 through 9. Proud principal Cindy Young sent this video our way, and we enjoyed it. Thank you very much, Cindy. The hockey game.
That's fine.
It's fun. Plenty of time left. Let's take a look at Ice District.
Yep. That is a packed moss pit where the weather's holding for now.
Good night
and I think there's a decent chance that most, possibly even all of these thunderstorms sneak just to the south of us. Somewhere between 8 and 9 p.m. If we're going to see anything at all, that would be the most likely time frame. The stuff down around Ponoka is, stay well to the south of us. The stuff a little further north, just southwest of the city, is trending a little more northeasterly as opposed to east-southeasterly. So we'll see how this plays out. At least cloudy skies here for the next hour or two, and then, as we said, somewhere between 8 and 9 p.m. you might see a shower or thunderstorm push through the area. Tomorrow, chance of a scattered shower in the morning. I think dry for much of the first half of the day, and then late in the day, risk of a shower or thunderstorm. A little cooler than today. Still not bad, though, up to about 22. Thursday, steady rain, particularly through the first half of the day at about 16 degrees. We're back into the 15 to 20 range for daytime highs for Friday, Saturday, Sunday as summer officially starts, and as the Oilers come back for Game 7 on Friday.
That's right. Yeah, we'll see them there.
Positive vibes.
All right. Thanks for sharing your time with us. For news anytime, visit ctvnewsedmonton.ca or now the CTV channel on YouTube.